culture. So you have a misunderstanding. I would say probably cutting both ways, right? A misunderstanding here. At level 2B, we got all kinds of amazing things going on here. Like, for example, I mean, I will only do this really quickly, right? But look on page 356, okay? We're coming off of page 355, and the two men moving up on tightrope like they was invisible or we were blind. One, in other words, they're coming up, right? He's just nailed that that hawk up on the door, and they're coming up to want to videotape. But now I'm concentrating at 2B, not what the writer Bambara says, but how she says it. Take a look at the next thing. Get them persons out of my flower bed, Mr. Kane. Saved, Granny, moaning real low, like at a funeral. And then the question, how come your grandmother calls her husband Mr. Kane all the time? Tyrone whispers all loud. By the way, did you notice the verbs here? They all change from the past tense to the present tense. We actually have an example, which is very unusual, of a story being written in the present tense. Not in the past tense, the way the majority of the story is told. Then for the next few moments, the attack of the second hawk, everything is told in the present tense. Jot down in your notes, why would Bambara do this for the reader? The usual answer is, there's a sense of immediacy here, right? You literally are like you're in the story, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, this hawk is like swooping down and it's going to attack them in some way. And then we're told that Grandpa jacks the second hawk, and then all of a sudden we're back to the past tense again, and the rest of the story told in the past tense. A fascinating adjustment, we might say. Of course, jot down for your notes how dialect works for you in this story, right? How dialogue works for you in the story. The layering effect of story upon story upon story. How does that one work for you in the story? At 3A, relationship to other titles. Already in the texts we've read, jot down the powerful examples of female characters we've already met, right? For example, Rules of the Game has a mother who is a very strong mother in Amy Tan's text. She'll tell you what she thinks. Jot down any other strong female characters. We sometimes call these in literature the matriarch. It's the woman who runs the show, and Grandpa's job is to make sure everything's taken care of for Mama, right? Who are those characters? Who's your favorite character like this in a movie that you've seen? Novel that you've read, okay? And of course in classical mythology, this takes us all the way back to the very ancient stories in classical mythology, where you have very interesting kinds of storylines about, for example, strong men, strong women who teach the young through their actions. Grandma's teaching again. When you reach your senior year, by the way, and Bambara, of course, will know this text, you're going to read a text by Coleridge called Rime of the Ancient Mariner. That will be a story about a guy who jacks a huge albatross, and all kinds of terrible things happen to him because of the killing of the albatross. We also, of course, have already mentioned it, so let's put it in our notes. In your sophomore year, you'll study the very famous text, To Kill a Mockingbird, by Harper Lee. And there will be, again, this notion of the importance of birds and singing as it relates, of course, to theme. Finally, at 3B, let's finish with this question. Critique yourself and your society. Are you concerned about invasions of privacy? Are you concerned about the fact that almost any time you go online, somebody is probably following your behavior patterns online? Are you at all concerned about the influence of people wanting to know about you and where you are, and the ways in which people feel very comfortable looking at other people's lives, watching those lives online or elsewhere? What is your feeling about the press? Do you think the press exacerbates problems sometimes to make money? Do you think that's at all possible, that they actually want to see car wrecks, I'm speaking metaphorically now, car wrecks happen because they want to be able to kind of take photographs of it? Why are so many people angry at the press and feel that the press is a bad thing in a democracy? Isn't it important that we have a press so that we can have a democracy, the exchange of ideas? But of course the problem becomes one of trust. Because if the press is providing information and you don't trust that information, you can begin to think that all of the press liars only about money, right? And that kind of thing. Another way to ask this question is, in your home, are you defined by the TV shows you watch? By the way you get your news, by the way you find out about the world. By the way, as freshmen, I'll point this out, you will begin to become more and more interested about the outside world. You'll begin to hear more in class comments and lectures from teachers and the like about the importance of what's going on in the world. The reason is simple. Because in 4 short years, you graduate. And then you move out into that thing that the adults keep calling the real world, which is a world of politics. Which begs the question, what role does the press play in helping you learn about politics? Well, there you go, an introduction to the Bambara text. I hope that you enjoyed the study. Thank you.